everybody, and welcome to another ASMR video here on the channel. And tonight's video we have some more scary stories for you, of course from the No Sleep Reddit page. But before we get into those, some of you may have noticed it's been just a little while since I last uploaded a video. I think it's been nearly 2 weeks, and it's been even longer since I last filmed. So just wanted to really quickly apologise for that. Had a lot of stuff going on over the last couple of weeks. There's been some changes at work, and it's been pretty hectic, but they're really exciting, good changes. And then we've been sort of focusing again on getting stuff around the house done, updating certain bits, doing a bit of DIY, all that good stuff, and I've just been so tired, and to be quite honest, I just haven't had the time. Things are a little bit calmer now, so hopefully we can get back into the flow, but apologies if you noticed the absence. But yeah, just wanted to do that little PSA, I guess. But you're not here for that, you're here for some scary stories. So let's get into some. So we begin with, they threw a dinner party to steal my baby, and my husband knew. So how's that baby brewing up? Harry asked while pouring everyone a glass of wine, except me. He's been playing a lot of soccer in there, I'll tell you that, I answered, laughing and placing my hands on the belly, but hopefully he'll get out soon enough. Harry chuckled, and he and my husband got back to discussing whatever detail was left in the production's calendar. Tanya, Harry's wife, on the other hand, didn't laugh at all. Instead, she stared at me with a blank expression I couldn't quite decipher. They were the ones who had invited us over for dinner to celebrate the deal my husband had signed with Harry's production company. Why is she acting like that? I wondered. But honestly, I wouldn't let her ruin what was one of the happiest moments of our lives. A few months ago, we had been living in a cramped studio downtown with 2 unpaid rents, and now we were having dinner with this big shot producer for a movie my husband would be writing. Every day I woke up thanking God we had this before the baby was born. I was 7 months pregnant. If putting up with this woman looking at me like I was a zoo animal was the price for all of this, then I'd gladly pay it. But things got weird when I, feeling nauseous, excused myself to go to the bathroom, as I had many times that night. As I was washing my hands to get back, I heard a knock on the door. I'm leaving, I called out to whoever was on the other side. When I opened it, it was Tanya. She stood there, glancing over her shoulder as if checking for anyone. "You need to get out," she whispered, like she was sharing a secret, "or they'll take your baby." Before I could even ask what, she turned around and walked back into the room where our husbands were. I sat back at the table, uneasy. What did she mean? Did I hear her correctly? Across from me, Tanya focused on the men's conversation, avoiding eye contact, pretending she hadn't just said what she did. Minutes passed in silence between me and her while the men's discussion grew louder as they drank more. "This is a really special moment," Harry said to my husband in an emotional voice. "I remember when Tanya was pregnant. She was the most beautiful." Harry then awkwardly placed his hand over hers and she responded with a half smile. "What happened?" I blurted out, curious after the whole bathroom incident. They exchanged glances and I saw my husband look away, uncomfortable. Harry opened his mouth to answer, but Tanya spoke first. "I lost it," she said, locking eyes with me before shifting her gaze to her husband. "But I guess it was worth it." Her face was a mix of cynicism and sadness. Harry quickly got up and asked her to help him set the dessert from the kitchen. She followed without protest. Something about all of this set off a strong alarm in my mind. And it got worse when I heard a heated whispering argument erupt between Tanya and Harry in the kitchen. And my husband's reaction was the worst. He sat right beside me, silent, and wore the most guilty, ashamed face I'd ever seen in my life. That's when the doorbell rang. Harry came sprinting out of the kitchen to open it. An old, grumpy-looking man stepped in, and I knew who he was because my husband had described him before. It was the movie's director. Harry and my husband treated him like a king, showering him with praise and filling his wine glass, but he remained stone-faced. The only moment of joy I witnessed was when he greeted me and noticed the belly. His lips stretched into a broad grin that sent chills down my spine. "You never told me he was coming," I whispered to my husband. "He and the crew were nearby and decided to drop by. It won't take long." "But I really wanted to leave now," I continued, trying to be polite. "I'm not feeling well." "I promise we'll go right after dessert," he said with a drunken smile. "Everyone talks about Tanya's cheesecake. They say it's incredible. We have to try it." Obviously, dessert was the last thing on my mind now. My anxiety grew as more and more people started coming through the door. The costume designer, the head of makeup, the VFX director, even a few of the actors all started showing up one by one. They greeted each other, then turned to look at me, like I was the main star of some twisted movie playing out in the house. Then Tanya came back from the kitchen carrying a tray of small plates for the crew. I could see in her face she despised them. But mine was brought back by Harry himself, who carried the plate carefully, like it was some precious treasure. As he placed it in front of me, I felt every eye in the room shift toward me, and an eerie silence settled. I looked at the cheesecake. It did look good, but I was certain now there was something more in it. I definitely shouldn't eat it. "I'm a bit unwell right now," I said. "Maybe I'll eat it later." "Honey, at least give it a bite," my husband said, while Harry stood in front of us, waiting. "I'm just not that hungry. Can't we take it home instead?" The tension in the room was suffocating. My husband's demeanour shifted instantly, his expression darkening as he gripped my arm. "Honey, don't be rude." His face a mix of menace and desperation. "Eat the cake. These people are helping us." That answer was proof he knew very well about whatever was going on. I hesitated, staring at the plate for a few seconds, my mind racing. But before I could speak, Tanya placed a firm hand on my shoulder. "She's just having a wave of nausea," she said, her voice calm. "I sure remember how bad it felt. I'll just take her to the bathroom 1 second to freshen up." Harry wasn't happy, but he sighed and nodded. "Fine, but be quick." Tanya helped me up, keeping her grip steady as we walked hand in hand toward the hallway. The moment we were out of sight, she pulled a car key from her pocket and pressed it into my palm. "Take my car," she whispered. "It's parked outside, second on the left." My heart pounded. "What about you?" "They already eyes welled with tears. "I'll be fine, just go, now." I followed her into the bathroom where she locked the door behind us and helped me jump through the window. I ran to the spot she pointed as fast as a 7 months pregnant woman could. My hands trembled as I fumbled with the key, but as soon as the engine brought to life, I floored it. In the rearview mirror, I saw the house shrinking in the distance, while my phone buzzed with calls from my husband. That's good. It's a good story. I mean, kind of like Rosemary's Baby a little bit, no? But what it reeks of as well is like, because they were like movie producers, what's it called? It was that theory, is it Bohemian Grove, where there's this belief that they, like the really wealthy and elite and like most powerful, like going to sacrifice like babies and stuff in return for like looking out for each other and wealth and all of that. That's what that felt to me a bit like, but no, that was good. Story number 2 now is titled, "I'm a student doctor. My first patient is the reason I might die tonight." I'm a med student. I was just meant to observe, maybe assist. Nothing in our textbooks or training prepares you for this. I'm writing this from my locked bedroom as something. He moves around my house like an animal, only quieter, more intentional. Please, someone tell me what to do. I don't know how long the door will hold. It started 3 weeks ago. I'd only just begun my first rotation, internal medicine. I was shadowing my supervising doctor at St. Thomas's. He was sharp, old school, always wore a bow tie and never seemed rattled. I looked up to him, still do. The man didn't blink during a code blue, but he'd always said, "It's the quiet ones you watch closely, not the screamers, the ones who smile when they shouldn't." I didn't get it at the time. My first solo case, just a basic consult, but my supervising doctor let me take the lead. Was a man listed as patient 46B, mid-30s, light build, no emergency, no urgent flags, just unexplained bruising. He sat calmly in the consult room, no obvious injuries, pale, thin lips, brown hair that hung limp, like it had given up. But his eyes, that was the first thing. They were grey, not blue-grey or hazel-grey, just grey, unsettlingly blank like a fogged-over mirror. He spoke slowly, politely, his voice low and toneless. Said the bruises started appearing 3 months ago, inner thighs, upper arms, spine, places you'd expect with abuse or a bleeding disorder. I examined him and yes, there were bruises, but they were wrong. The edges weren't purple or yellowing like healing ones. They were pitch black with a red core, as if something inside was trying to get out. I remember asking if he was on any blood thinners. He said no. I asked about substance use, alcohol, anticoagulants. "Never touched a drop," he replied with a smile that felt like someone else's mouth wearing his face. I was unsettled, but I had to write something down. So I chalked it up as possible immune thrombocytopenia, gave him a mild corticosteroid prescription and told him to return in a week. "We'll run more tests," I said. "Probably nothing to worry about." I regret those words. When he returned a week later, things escalated. He looked thinner, same dark clothes, same blank expression, but there were more bruises. His neck now, around his jawline, and several across his scalp like blotches of ink. He didn't sit this time. He stood in the corner of the consul's room facing the wall like he was in timeout. "Lucas," I asked. That was the only name he'd given. "You okay?" "I can hear them now," he whispered. "In the walls. They want out. But they like you." I glanced at the mirror, wondering if this was some elaborate psych-eval trick. But it was just me, alone, with him. He finally turned. His pupils were dilated, almost consuming the irises, and there was blood under his fingernails. "I don't scratch," he said, as if reading my mind. "They move around inside me. I'm not doing it." I referred him to our liaison psychiatrist. I also requested a follow-up with internal. Something didn't add up, physically or mentally. "We'll get you seen again soon," I told him. "Just hang in there, okay?" He nodded. "You should lock your doors more, especially after dark. You're warm. They'd like to wear you." The next day I visited the psychiatrist's office to check in on the referral. The secretary looked up, confused at first, then her expression shifted. Something quieter tinged with sadness. "He hasn't come in. You haven't heard?" "Heard what?" She hesitated. "He was found dead last night, bludgeoned in his office. Police think it happened after hours. We're closed to day 4. I was already walking away, ears buzzing. I didn't want to believe it was connected. Couldn't be. But I felt it in my gut. I called the station. Asked to speak with the detective in charge. I got bounced around until someone finally took me semi-seriously. "Yes," the voice on the other end said. "We're looking for a patient, mid-30s. Gave the name Lucas. Used a fake address on the intake form. No ID. We're advising all staff at St. Thomas's to stay alert and avoid contact." The detective lowered his voice. "We found things in Dr. B's office. Blood in places it shouldn't be. Symbols carved into the carpet beneath his chair. And something under his fingernails. Not human." That was 12 hours ago. I've been trying to act normal since. I finished my shift early, told the nurse I had a migraine, took the tram home, looking over my shoulder the whole time, and now, this. I came home and the house was dark. I live alone in a 2-story terrace. Usually it feels cozy, but not tonight. I locked the door, flicked the hallway light on. He was there, not standing, but on the ceiling. No, big no. Pressed against it like a spider, barefoot, clothes torn, skin too pale, almost translucent now. The bruises had overtaken his limbs, crawling up his face in broken, inky veins. But it was his expression that paralysed me. A smile so wide it stretched unnaturally, as if his cheeks were tearing from the sheer force of it. His eyes, they were a solid black now, not just the irises, all of them, like 2 obsidian marbles reflecting my horror back at me. He didn't speak, he just moved, not like a person, his limbs twisted at angles no joint should allow, slow and jerky like a puppet handled by someone who's never seen one before. He crept slowly across the ceiling, toward me. Ugh. I wanted to scream but couldn't. My throat locked up. I I stumble backward and shaking keys falling to the floor. He dropped. No sound, just thud right in front of the door, blocking it. Standing there now, head tilted, arms hanging limp, still smiling. I ran, bolted up the stairs, locked myself in the bedroom. I've barricaded it with a chair and a shelf. I don't know if it'll matter. He hasn't spoken once, but he's knocking now. Not on the door, on the walls. Knock, knock, knock. Then silence. Then knocking from the other side of the room. I swear to God I heard him giggling. I called the police, but they said they dispatched someone, but there's been a surge of emergencies. Said it will likely take 30 minutes minimum. I tried to explain that a patient might have killed a psychiatrist and is now in my house. They said try to stay calm, sir, maybe step outside. I can't. He's everywhere. The lights keep flickering, my phone battery's at 9%. I can hear him moving in the ceiling above me now, sometimes dragging something, sometimes whispering my name over and over. Dog, door. There's a scratching coming from inside the closet. I didn't check it. I didn't think to. Wait, oh God, the closet door just creaked open. It's pitch black in there, but I can see something moving. Long limbs. That smile. He was never downstairs. He's been in here the whole time. Please, someone tell me what to do. I'm posting this in case I don't make it. The comms are 20 minutes away now. My bedroom door just creaked. And that's it. It cuts off there. So, you know, I'm assuming this person is alive and well and, you know, absolutely thriving. Yeah, the bit where the thing was on the ceiling gave me goosebumps. And it's just, I feel like it's such a common trope in like horror movies, but it's still just such a creepy, horrible image to have in your brain. I enjoyed that one. I think there's something haunting my son. I need help getting rid of it. I'm writing this from a hospital room. My little boy is fine now, but that thing could have killed him. Let me start at the beginning. For the past 2 weeks, something has been haunting my son. It could have started earlier than that, but that was the first time I noticed it. I will say that strangely this also coincides with when my son got a few stitches for a cut on his hand. I'm not sure that's actually relevant to what's happening here, but I figured I'd mention it, in the off chance anyone has any ideas. Anyway, 2 weeks ago, that night, as usual, I was putting my 6-year-old son Noah to sleep. Noah struggles to fall asleep, like a lot, so the bedtime routine is the same each night. Put on an allsortsasmr video. Oh no, wait, never mind. I read stories and talk to him for about a half hour. Then I close the door and sit in the hallway, waiting for him to sleep. If I don't sit right outside his door, he comes out of the room and starts playing. If I stay in the room with him, he keeps talking and talking and talking. So this seemed like a happy medium. After reading for about 20 minutes outside his door, it got quiet. I took the opportunity to go downstairs and clean up a bit. When I came back up, however, he wasn't asleep. I could hear him giggling, talking to himself. I couldn't make out individual words, but he definitely was not asleep. I angrily yanked the door open. Noah. I stopped. Noah was fast asleep, curled in the fetal position under the covers. Now this wasn't totally weird. Sometimes my son does talk to himself, right up to the moment he falls asleep. Sometimes he even babbles to himself in the middle of the night. So it was a little odd, but it didn't raise any major red flags with me. Yet. In fact, I forgot all about it. Until the cabinet incident. Noah and his little sister Zoe have this game they play. I don't even remember how it started, but basically one of them hides in a kitchen cabinet and pushes the door or drawer out a little bit, and they say they're a poltergeist. I was putting on dinner, and when I heard the drawer push open, the metallic rolling sound as it popped out. "Ooh, is it the poltergeist?" I said with a laugh. The drawer pulled shut. I set down the knife and walked over to the cabinet, crouching in front of it. Sometimes I could see Noah's eyes in the gap between the counter and the drawer staring back at me. I smiled and waited for the drawer to pop open. After a few seconds it slowly rolled out on its hinges. I saw Noah's hand curled around the top edge of the drawer in the darkness as he pushed it open. "I see you," I cooed. "I don't think that's really a poltergeist." But I didn't hear his laughter. Didn't see his dark eyes looking back at mine. The hand darted out of sight and then snap, the drawer closed hard as if he'd yanked it back with all his might. "Hey, don't do it so hard, you could smash your fingers." He didn't respond. "Noah." Just then, footsteps sounded behind me. "I'm hungry." I turned around. Noah was standing behind me, a foam Minecraft sword dangling from his hand. A second later, Zoe appeared out of breath holding a pickaxe. "Found you," she squealed, whacking him in the shoulder. I turned back to the cabinet and threw the door open. It was empty. I glanced from Noah to Zoe to the empty cabinet. The explanation clear, but my brain lagging 10 seconds behind. "Were you just in the cabinet?" I asked. But I knew there was no way he could be. No way he could have teleported from the cabinet to the kitchen. Behind me. "No," he said. "Zoe." "No, I wasn't." I stared at the empty cabinet. Someone was in there. I saw their hand. I saw their hand. But it was impossible. And there was no way they could have escaped without me noticing. There was just one explanation then, that I'd imagined it. I decided to see a doctor. I'd never had full-blown hallucinations before, but I'd had weird stuff in my vision sometimes, like seeing a sparkling bit of light or patches of static from an old TV set, or thinking the hair in my eyes was a shadowed person staring at me. I'd definitely gone down the Dr. Google rabbit hole a few times, looking up things like Charles Bonnet syndrome and visual snow syndrome. The doctor thought it was probably just the darkness, and the fact that I expected to see a hand there, so he sent me on my way not too concerned. I probably wouldn't have been too concerned either, except things continued to happen. At 2 a.m, I was woken by the sound of hurried, pattering footsteps. Sounded exactly like Noah or Zoe running back and forth across the length of our house, downstairs. I got out of bed and immediately checked on them. They were in their beds, fast asleep. I ran back in and woke my husband Dave. "There's someone out there," I whispered, my legs shaking. I heard them downstairs. I locked myself in the kids' rooms, with my phone poised to dial 911 while Dave went and checked it out. But after turning on all the lights and checking every room and nook and cranny, he told me there was nothing or no one there. Maybe one of them just got up to use the bathroom. was downstairs, Dave. Well, I dunno, Carmen. I checked everywhere, no one's in here, and all the doors are locked. I didn't sleep until the first rays of dawn shone through the window. Over the next 10 days, that happened several times. Me waking up to the sound of what was clearly children's footsteps, running back and forth downstairs, back and forth, back and forth. A few times when I went down to check, I found the drawer of the poltergeist cabinet rolled out, too. And there were other weird things. In the morning I kept finding the kids' nightlight on the floor, even though both of them are afraid of the dark and would never unplug it. The clothes in their closet kept getting all shifted and rearranged, like someone was pushing the hangers back and forth, making gaps here and there in the hanging shirts like they were looking for someone in particular. At that point in time I'd figured the kids or Dave did it, but obviously now I'm not so sure. And then there was the incident in the bedroom 3 days ago. I was sitting out in the hallway as usual, waiting for Noah to fall asleep. Zoe was already fast asleep, but Noah was still talking to himself. I looked up from my phone and I suddenly realised something. The muffled voice on the other side followed a pattern. It was a bunch of syllables, and then it raised in pitch, like Noah was asking a question, over and over and over, the same question. Usually his babbling is random Star Wars storylines and stuff like that, not questions. I put my phone down and strained my ears to listen. Why have no? Why have no? Those were the only 3 words I could make out. I twisted the knob as silently as I could and pushed the door open a crack. I heard Noah suck in a breath and then ask the question, "Why do you have no face?" I'm never having kids. My blood ran cold. I shot up and ran into the bedroom. "Who are you talking to?" I demanded, flicking on the light and sweeping the room. No one, he said timidly. I could tell he was lying. I turned around just in time to see the clothes hanging in his closet moving, like something had just disappeared within them. Out now, I screamed, grabbing a sleeping Zoe and running out after Noah. Dave ran up to see what the commotion was. Someone's in the closet, someone's there. But no one was there. Dave searched and searched and searched. We even called the police at my insistence. No one found anything. I only had the courage to look in the closet myself when the kids were finally back asleep, and the entire house had been cleared by both Dave and the police. I walked up to the closet, phone flashlight in hand. My hand shook so much the white light trembled across the room, casting strange moving shadows almost like a strobe light. After a deep breath, I flung open the closet doors. The hanging clothes had all been rearranged by the police and Dave. There were big gaps now, bearing the white wall underneath. I expected to see someone's legs in there maybe, poking out from the hems of the hanging shirts, but I didn't see anything. Just the kids' clothes and our random junk that had overflowed our own closets. Stuffed into the wooden cubicles on the right were my boots, a couple of scarves and Dave's old Spirited Away costume from several Halloweens back. I quickly closed the doors, did a final check of the children and went back to my room. It was only the next morning that I realised Dave's no-face costume was in our closet, not the kids'. The next day was when everything spiralled out of control. was running on 2 hours sleep, barely trying to keep it together, scrolling mindlessly through my phone. I walked into the kitchen to get a snack when I noticed the drawer was out. I glanced back through the hall. I could see Noah's leg poking out of the family room, his white sock and the hem of his mud-stained jeans. I could hear him babbling about something, so it wasn't him in there, and so it was at a friend's house, so it wasn't her either. It was this thing haunting our family. The drawer pulled in slowly as if taunting me. If I hadn't been so sleep-deprived and desperate, I would have made better decisions, like taking Noah out for a drive or calling my husband. But I was so sick of this thing taunting me, sick of leaving a nightmare. I scrambled over and crouched in front of the cabinet. "Leave us," I growled. No response. "By the power of God, by the power of Jesus Christ, leave us." If this thing were a demon, maybe that would scare it. A soft rustling noise came from the cabinet. "We will get a priest to exorcise you out. Get out, now." A pause. Then it spoke in his voice. "Mummy." And something in me broke. How dare it? The shivers flitting down my spine broke out into a hot rage. How dare it use my son's voice? How dare it? I grabbed the drawer handle and closed it with all my force. It collided with something on the other side. "Get out," I screamed. "Get out and never come back." I slammed the drawer again. Then again in a blind rage. "Carmen, what are you doing?" I stopped and glanced back to see Dave standing behind me, a look of horror on his face, and then the sound boomed back into my ears like I was coming up from being underwater. Someone was crying in the cabinet. Oh no. No. I opened the cabinet. My stomach fell through the floor. There was Noah, crying, clutching his head. No. As Dave bent down and picked him up, I glanced back to the family room, just in time to see a foot in a white sock, the hem of dirty jeans dart out of sight. It tricked me. I rushed to Noah in Dave's arms and began to cry. "Noah is fine. I only hit him once in the head with the drawer, before he ducked down in the cabinet. But it could have been worse. Much worse." I don't know how much more of this I can take. The thing, whatever it is, isn't just blindly haunting me. It's using a strategy, wearing me down with sleep deprivation until it can take advantage of me and trick me. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get rid of it. And I don't want to hurt my son. Damn. I mean, that was brilliant again. I mean, it said something's haunting her son, but really it sounds like the thing is haunting her, making her seem like the crazy one. Lovely. You know, a lot of these, most of the time I've read so many of these now, they don't usually get me, but there's been a couple tonight that have got me just a little bit. Right, everybody, we're gonna finish with this one. I really wanted to try and get an hour, but I'll be honest, I had my flu jab earlier and I'm feeling ropes. But I still wanted to make this video just to make you aware I haven't quit, I'm not going anywhere. So dramatic, it's only been 2 weeks. Most of you probably didn't even notice. Anyways, our final story of tonight's video is titled, "It's 2:25 AM. There's a man standing in my backyard." This is a short story. He isn't moving. He's just standing there, right outside the tree line. I have to take my dog out, but I'm way too freaked out to step outside. My dog wakes me up most nights around 2 AM. Also, to let him out. He sleeps in my bed with me. I know, probably gross, but I love him and I can't help it. I don't want him doing his business in my bed, so I always get up and take him outside. But whatever that thing is standing out there, I don't want to come near it. Here's the thing about my dog. He's 15, and this year's age has finally caught up to him. He's gone partially deaf and has developed cataracts. He doesn't bark or react to things like he used to. It's just a sad truth of him getting older. I still love him the same, and I'm lucky he's lived this long. But I don't trust his senses like I used to. I don't know if he sensed what's out there. I headed to the back door, flicking on lights so my dog and I could watch our steps, when I spotted it. It was facing my house, just standing like an obsidian statue at the edge of the tree line. My blood ran cold and my body reacted faster than my brain. I bolted away from the door and shut off all the lights I had turned on. Primal instinct had kicked in. I crawled back to my bedroom, moving as quietly as I could and avoiding windows. I've been hiding behind my bedroom curtain since then, trying to make sense of what's going on. After giving myself a few minutes to breathe, I poked my head out from behind the curtain to see if it was still there. I half expected to see its face pressed against the window staring back at me. But it's still standing there in the middle of my yard. I can see it clearly from where I am. My body is tense, every hair on its end, every nerve alive with fear. There's this suffocating sense of dread. I can't help but feel I'm being watched, even though I can clearly see it still facing my back door. I can't shake the feeling it knows where I am, that it saw me turn on the lights, that it's waiting. I've decided that I'm going to call the cops. Most likely case is that it's one of my neighbours. There's a few elderly couples living on my street, and I've heard stories of old people wandering from their homes, lost and confused, but I don't know. I've never seen anyone stand that still. If it is one of my neighbours, they might need help. Whatever or whoever it is, the cops can deal with it. If this or something similar has happened to anyone before, I'd appreciate some advice on how to handle this situation and if I'm doing the right thing. Maybe I just want to feel less alone right now. This person's provided an update. It's gone. The cop showed up at 2:57. Thank you to the commenter who suggested I talk to the cops through the door. I told them the situation and they went around the back to check it out. But when I looked out the window again, it was gone. The cops searched all around the premise, but couldn't find anything weird. No sign of a person, no footsteps, nothing. They must think that I'm crazy, but I don't care. The only security I feel right now is in knowing that all of my doors and windows are locked. So there is no way that it got inside with me. I just pray to God it doesn't come back. You know, so that story didn't really go anywhere, but that kind of idea is inherently scary because technically, it could happen. Some crazy person or bored person could just go and stand outside someone's house or in their garden, whatever, and just stare and not do anything but just terrify. I could look down into my garden now and just see someone standing there. I'm not going to, just in case there is. But yeah, that's gonna do it for tonight. I'm actually feeling relatively spooked, so I'm gonna go and watch something wholesome, Veggie Tales or something. No, I'm not, but probably a nice ASMR video. But I really hope you did enjoy this video. Again, last time I say it, apologies for the absence. Hopefully it won't happen again. And I've got some good videos planned for over the next few weeks, so keep your eyes peeled. So yeah, that is going to do it for tonight's video. I really hope you did enjoy it. If you did and you're able to, then please give this video a like and subscribe if you're